Hello and welcome to our 10th and final episode of this season of Phäx and Lãodgeick. My name is Trenton, and with me today are a conglomeration of other searchers out of Phäx and Lãodgeick.
Hello, I'm David, as always, here to deliver you the best facts. Not so much logic, but my specialty is facts.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma, also known as Madam Mumpkins Take Your Pick. I'm here to deliver to you both facts and logic regarding turtles and musicology.
Hello, my name is Julie, also the residential art critique. I am a specialist on everything art and history, and all the facts that I say are absolutely, positively true.
Yo, it's Yoel, better known as etymologist, and my areas of specialty include logical etymology and factitious linguistics. Happy to have you here today.
Now that we have met all of our wonderful guests today, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Lãodgeick. It is one of our personal favorite drinks here on the podcast, and we just think that you all would enjoy this very much. Speaking of the Lãodgeick, if you missed our last episode, we took a deep dive into the history of this drink and found many very interesting facts about the history going back centuries into our past. And for the new listeners here today, Joel, why don't you go ahead and give them a breakdown of our name, Phäx and Lãodgeick.
Well, thanks, Trenton. So, over a year ago, since our 9th episode in Arizona, and thinking back to it, our 9th episode was when we actually figured out that we were doing a podcast. Before then, every time we gathered around the table, our sound man, Mr. Soundman, would set up these microphones and have us do sound checks, and we thought that was really weird until we discovered, hey, this is a podcast. And that's when things started to click about a year ago. Anyway, when we were in Arizona, I had, most of you don't know this, but I had a grant to conduct linguistic fieldwork among the Navajo and Hopi tribes. I was wandering about in the desert doing research, and I got lost. And I ate the fleshy part of a strange cactus. And after eating the cactus, I had, some would call them hallucinations, but I think it was more of a vision state. And a tortoise spoke to me. No, it was a turtle. I think it was a turtle.
I can confirm that it was a turtle.
Okay, thank you. Our resident turtle musicologist has spoken on the matter.
Yes, you're welcome.
Her word is final. Anyway, this turtle explained to me the etymology of Phäx and Lãodgeick. Now, many who study languages would tell you that Phäx, or the word fact, comes from Latin facere, and that logic comes from Latin logica, which was borrowed from Greek logos. That's not the whole truth. However, as we always say at Phäx and Lãodgeick, the truth isn't always what it seems. That is our motto.
Word.
Deeply profound.
Anyway, the turtle explained to me that the Romans established colonies along the Colorado River and interacted frequently with nearby tribes, and this is not taught in schools, which is sad. They introduced several Latin words such as facere, logica, and defenestrate. When Leif Erikson landed in North America several centuries later, he made an expedition it lasted about a weekend to the American Southwest along what is known today as Route 66. Again, this is not taught in schools, which is such a shame. He was fascinated by the people's language that he found there, and he sought to incorporate some of their words into Old Norse. He brought these neologisms back to the Old World, and when the Danes invaded England during the Old English period, English was significantly Scandinavia-sized, and this is how Phäx and Lãodgeick entered the English language. But an important note is that we here at Phäx and Lãodgeick adhere to a historical orthography of these words. In fact, that is the only way to spell Phäx and Lãodgeick. Again, our motto is, the logician knows best. You can find a more detailed explanation of the etymology of these words and related words in my unpublished dissertation linked in the show notes. There you will also find a link to a petition to sign my dissertation and get it approved by the University of Arizona.
Thank you, Joel. Wow, that is really interesting. I'm glad you did that research. It's very important stuff to get that information out there. And I think you hit on something key that, well, it hits really close to home for me personally, and obviously for all of us, but just the absolute deficiency of the American school system in teaching and educating our next generation in the truth. And I think that's why podcasts like this are so important, because
Take your time. It's okay.
We're here for you.
Because without a window like this, a lot of children are going to grow up thinking one thing that isn't necessarily true, and they're going to go through their entire lives and they're going to spread that misinformation to other people, and that's how societies collapse. That we don't hear about the Roman settlements in Colorado. Why do you think that is? It's because the Roman schools in the late 3rd century stopped teaching about that history that was so critically important to the way their society developed, and now no one remembers it. It just as a historian, it drives me insane. I'm sure Julie can relate to that, and so that's why I think that what we're doing here and what we have been doing for the last season is absolutely profound and noble. And I think that we can't forget that what we're doing here, it's fun occasionally, but it's also incredibly valuable to the survival of our nation and our entire way of life. So I'm sorry to get up on my soapbox like that, but I think that we absolutely need to keep the true goal of this podcast in mind as we go forward. And that's all I have to say.
Well said. Well
Yeah,
said.
I think that was very profound.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, David. I really want to emphasize that we wouldn't have known this without the turtle. The turtle. We know that it is a turtle. We know. Sorry. This really hits close to home. We know it was a turtle. And I need to explain why. It was because tortoises, they walk on their toes.
Do they really?
They do. They walk on their toenails like little ballerinas.
That's kind
And
of
it's
high-key
beautiful.
impressive.
I can
I
relate.
know.
I can relate.
I also walk on my toes.
Wow.
Wow.
And we know that this was a turtle because when Joel drew it for me, with the help of Julie,
Mhm.
it was walking on its feet.
Mm.
It was a turtle, and I know for a fact that it was a snapping turtle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, can we just talk about how demonized snapping turtles are nowadays?
They really are. They are.
And how
Some
aggressive.
snaps for snapping
Some
turtles.
snaps for snapping turtles.
I can't snap, but I'm trying.
But like, going back to history and rewriting it and not knowing the truth about things, I'm heartbroken that snapping turtles are so demonized.
Yeah.
And we're taught not to trust them. We're taught not to trust what snapping turtles have to say. And I think that's just absolutely atrocious. And this podcast is going to help get the word out that snapping turtles are our friends and it's like the pit bull argument,
Mm.
you know? Like,
It's so true.
we shouldn't judge people based on their breeds.
So,
Yeah.
in a way, the snapping turtle is a metaphor for the revisionist historian, which is what we're doing.
Indeed.
Why there wouldn't be revisionist historians if history did not need to
Yeah.
be revised.
I agree. Just last week, I saw a snapping turtle on the road, and I was just struck by people around me were just avoiding it all the time, walking around it, and were absolutely terrified. And I wanted to combat the stereotype, so I bent down, stuck my finger right in its mouth, and I'm here today.
That's
What a-
beautiful.
Nine fingers, but
What a
you know,
hero.
I'm here. I survived.
Beautiful.
So can we please stop with the snapping turtle demonization? Snaps for snapping turtles.
I'm trying. And I think it really needs to be put out there that snapping turtles have been so important to 20th century music.
Mm.
Like, they were the main inspiration of Debussy
Oh.
when he was touring America, trying to find Arizona. I'm sorry, I'm so
It's easy to
emotional
get
about
lost
this.
down there.
Yeah.
Well,
He
and
met a snapping turtle.
Just think of the opening line in like Claire de Lune, just the slow,
was the
easy
song.
pace.
That
Didn't
was the song of the snapping turtles.
didn't Dvorak have a pet snapping turtle?
Oh.
I thought I read that somewhere.
That
but
is
I'm
a
not-
fact.
Okay, gotcha.
Sylvester Stallone also has two snapping turtles.
Does he really?
Yeah, they've
Wow.
ever since his movie about the monkey mayor.
Wow. And he's a strong guy. So you know that you can directly link snapping turtles with strength and power.
Yeah. His wife was inspired to write a whole album about them.
Hmm.
Yeah, Birdie and
Wow.
Ert.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have to take a moment. I'm sorry.
I grew up on that album. It raised me.
Okay, it's time to begin another segment. Now, this segment has, of course, been going on for a while, but it's to refresh those of us who may have forgotten, since it's been so long since our last episode, or new viewers, of course. I'm sure we have many of those. This segment is called Two Truths and a Truth. So maybe Carl, our editor, can cue the fancy royalty-free music right about now as we're introducing the new segment.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thanks, Mr. Soundman.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Okay, so the rules of Two Truths and a Truth are as follows. I will say two truths and one truth, and your job is to guess which of the truths is the true truth. So to rephrase, let me say it again so we can follow. I will say two truths and a true truth. Your job will be to guess which truth is the true truth truthfully. Okay, let me begin. First, the first shower curtains were created in 1630 by the Puritan settlers of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Originally, they were designed to ward off evil spirits who would otherwise have spied on the colony's women. Okay, truth number 2. In 2012, the original vocalist of the Pokemon theme song created a parody to promote the presidential campaign of Rand Paul, in which he sang, "Gonna catch 'em all," in regard to electoral votes. And lastly, in 1927, Joseph Stalin delivered a speech to the Soviet youth organization, the Komsomol, in which he decried the dangers of shoelaces as a capitalist ploy to cause good Soviet soldiers to trip while on parade. Why don't we go around and submit your guesses as to which truth is the true truth?
Well, I think that the shower curtains are really important to society today, and so I really believe that the first truth that you listed is the true truth. Thank you.
You know, I'm going to go off that, and I'm going to agree with her on that because the Puritans are known, obviously, for their purity, and they wanted to keep their women separate and pure. And so the creation of the shower curtains to keep them pure from the demons and from demons seeing them, I think that draws a lot of lines that connect that and makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm going to agree with you on that. And the shower curtain one is the truthiest of the truths.
Yes, I've actually read in some historical texts that I will link in the show notes that witches actually did not use shower curtains, and that's how they determined who to put on trial.
Good guesses. Good guesses.
You know, all these truths are ringing pretty true with me, but of course, as our motto goes, not all truths are equally true. Isn't that what our motto is, everyone?
is.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Word.
That's what we always say. But nonetheless, I'll have to go with the Stalin truth is truthfully true.
And why do you think that one is the one that is the most true?
I forgot to mention earlier in my introduction that another area of specialty for me while I was at the University of Arizona was Stalinism and use of capitalist, anti-capitalist propaganda among the youth, specifically related to aglets and shoe soles and laces occasionally.
Is that why it took you so long to get out of there? Because you were always Stalin?
Mm-hmm.
True dat.
See, okay, so you guys are all giving really, really good answers, and Joel, I'm pretty inclined to lean your way with the Stalinist one because, as we all know, we usually get all of our shoelaces from the president, right? And that's a commonly known fact. I don't even need to cite that one.
True dat.
So that's obviously a capitalist punishment. Like it's a capitalist invention. But I don't know. Growing up during that presidential election, I'm pretty sure that I have heard that, and I don't know. I'm pretty sure Nintendo did a couple of ads supporting it, and so I'm inclined to think that it's the Pokemon campaign song.
Very good guesses. I'm glad to see such deep thought being put into it. The correct answer is forthcoming, but I think our viewers at home should Google all three and decide for themselves which of these three truths is the true truth, because Google is our friend.
And we'll have a link to the poll in our show notes as well.
Later on, at the end of the episode, I will announce the true truth, and the viewers at home can see which is the true truth. This is the part where we'll add the me channel music with the
yep.
uncomfortably long pauses.
Yes, but it'll be royalty free.
Oh yeah, of course.
Perhaps played on recorder.
Did you know
Yeah.
the me channel theme song actually is royalty free? The Nintendo sold the rights to it to a man by the name of Jeffrey, and Jeffrey died recently, but his estate did not renew his ownership of the rights, and so it actually went into the public domain. So that's why we're able to use it without
Little did you
taxes.
know, Jeffrey was actually murdered. He was like,
Hadn't heard that.
yeah, no, he was sitting on his mansion pool and he was drinking a Grasky, of course,
Right.
Because everyone knows what the Grasky is, and it's a pretty classless drink. Like it transcends classes
Mhm.
And gender.
and gender. Yes, yeah.
As we all know, the drink is the most gender neutral drink known to man.
Yes.
Mm.
The party up front and
Yep.
business in the back taste. And smell in
sip.
our perfume line as well. But yeah, no, Jeffrey was brutally murdered, and it's come out, and a lot of people think that it has a lot to do with the Meat Channel music. So many people just wanted to use it, and we're sick and tired of paying for it, and that's why all the memes are able to use it now too.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank you,
I
Jeffrey,
wonder-
for your sacrifice.
I wonder about that, if that has something to do with why they released the Me Channel theme song with uncomfortably long pauses.
Oh.
Mm.
Because
Are
the
those-
uncomfortable truth of Jeffrey's murder.
Yeah, are those uncomfortable pauses the pauses in which the person that murdered him took,
Mm.
considering his death?
Or animal.
Or animal?
Wow. Well,
That's a good point.
I've heard if you play the pauses backwards in backwards order, so like the last pause first but backwards,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually it becomes a silent Morse code. You know what that is, obviously.
Right.
Of course.
Right.
Silent Morse code is a very complex thing, and it's very difficult to translate if you're not trained. But to the trained ear, you can hear the actual words spoken by Jeffrey in his final moments. Or so I hear. Obviously, I don't know Silent Morse code as well as some other people I've spoken to, but that is interesting. I wonder if that is linked to it. Is maybe the actual murderer uploaded that video as a veiled hint to why he murdered Jeffrey.
I believe I read an article recently where a crime scene investigation unit found what seemed to be tortoise prints,
Wow.
toe prints,
Wow.
on the scene of the crime. Not that that has anything to do with the situation, but it is something.
As a turtle musicologist, I find that very distressing to hear. I think such an accusation against tortoise kind is deeply unfounded. Whoever wrote this article is true, but not the truest truth, I must say.
Were they by chance snapping tortoise prints?
I do not recall.
Or could it have been like slander on the tortoise name on behalf of a snapping turtle?
That is my suspicion.
That is a deep-seated rivalry within the reptile community.
It really is. But the true rivalry within the reptile community has been the war. Back in 2000s. I'm sorry, today it's an emotional time. I apologize, but back in the 2000s, on the island, I won't say its name. I know that it's a sensitive topic, but I was a diplomat for the turtle kind during this war between the Sasquatches and the tree octopi. Yeah, I know that the Sasquatches were not fans of the turtle kind. They thought that they were octopus sympathizers. And we were just trying to bring peace. So my theory regarding these tortoise prints outside of Jeffrey's estate is that the Sasquatches have framed snapping tortoises.
Wow.
Thank you for speaking your truth, Madam Mumpkins.
Of course. Yeah.
That is, of course, why we are here today, is to just discuss the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
And the truth will set turtles free.
That's our motto.
Always has been.
Can we get some snaps for some snapping turtles?
I'm trying.
So, how about this soundboard we have here? Let me just read kind of random words off the soundboard, and you tell me what you think they mean, because I'm really at a loss here, and I'm trying to figure out how to mix. So, okay, first off, we have the word auto.
Like Autobots? Like roll out?
Oh,
Are we using a transformer right now?
Oh. Decepticon? Does it have a little cool symbol on it?
you know, there is a symbol here. Oh, okay. Next word is reset. Then we have hold. Then we have start. Then we have stop. Then the next word is Pacific
Oh.
and research and audition.
And this is English?
I think it might be a skip code. Let me just hash this out for a little bit. You can move on to the next segment.
All right.
It sounds like it might be Sumerian.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. You might be right. Should have gone to you first.
Could you tell us a little bit about the Sumerians? Why do you think that it might be from their culture?
Yes, recent excavations in the ancient Near East have uncovered what appear to be primitive soundboards and podcast equipment. It is becoming quite apparent at these digs that Phäx and Lãodgeick is its legacy goes back far beyond what we originally thought. More research is forthcoming, but that's what I will say for now.
Thank you.
Well, and the Sumerians used pictures to communicate, right? And so we can trace through history different like meanings of words and just try to like decipher these things through these pictures. And we actually get emojis from the Sumerians, and of course also the Egyptians too. But they're a little bit obsolete at this point. But it would help if you could describe these images to us.
Did you guys hear about the excavation in I think it was the site of Uruk, the city of Uruk, and they came across and they didn't publish this because the field of academia is very restrictive on kind of breaking the norm, the normal what am I trying to say? The normal theories about the Sumerians. And but this excavation in Uruk, I think it was 82 they were excavating. But the point is they came across, and keep in mind this is 82, so this is years before the smartphone and years before emoji, but what they came across is this tablet, and the tablet had on it a strange shape that was like, it had rounded edges, and it was kind of slightly ziggurat shaped, but it was rounded, and so they thought originally that it was a stylized depiction of a ziggurat, which at the time they kind of assumed it was proof that the Sumerians invented non-representational art. But as we have gone back to look at it, people have realized that it's actually, now this is true. Don't think this isn't, but it's actually a depiction of the poop emoji as portrayed by Patrick Stewart in the Emoji Movie.
Oh wow!
And so
I believe it.
Yeah, and researchers have come to the conclusion that this actually means that the Sumerians had access to either time travel or both poop and Patrick Stewart.
Can we talk about just the historical implications of this, to just the fact that we have some time travelers, perhaps, that have been able to impact our history, and maybe that's where our revisionist history comes in.
You might be right. Though I was more surprised that they had a concept of poop. Because, the toilet wasn't invented until, the 600s or so by Lord Toilet, obviously.
More importantly, the modern concept of poop is Stalinist propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not forget that.
Right. This is kind of a new field of research is poopology, or there's occasionally less diplomatic ways to phrase the same thing, but the point is it's the study of poop throughout history, and specifically human feces. And a lot of these people have come to the conclusion that humans didn't actually poop until around the year 500 or so. We believe that we can pinpoint the actual moment when pooping began, and it coincided with the what was the year, 574 or something. It was largely considered the worst year in human history. This is when the plague of Justinian hit, and the point is, these ancient records, they tell of a year of dark, and a lot of historians assumed that this that this had something to do with clouds and a covering of the sun, but recent scholarship believe that this is actually the. You guys, it's got to stop laughing. I can't. They believe that this is the moment when humans began to defecate.
Well, and can we just discuss the implications of that as well with the Dark Ages and the Middle Eastern companies and stuff?
You're right.
It's just it's a tragedy that we call it the Dark Ages, and people just assume that it's because of the lack of knowledge and the lack of technology. But in reality, it was a horrible time, and not because of the tech. It was, I mean, they had to invent a whole bunch of things to deal with this.
Exactly.
And so it was just this era of invention and just profound humanist, like people were coming together and learning how to live through this eternal struggle that they were facing.
You're absolutely right. What do you think, truffle mumpkins?
Wow.
Very well put. Very well put.
I agree. Was that a phone? Did I just hear the noise of a phone? Who has their phone?
I kind of
Give it to me. Give it to me now.
I want to know.
Get in the corner.
Okay.
Dunce cap.
I'm sorry.
All right. You're done.
You have been canceled. Unless you can tell us something truthful.
Oh, I got some
You shall
truthful.
remain canceled.
I have some truthful. I have some tea about the modern Ottoman Empire. Okay. So, this is like, no one really talks about this because it goes back to the Romans in Colorado. Okay. So this is like brand new conspiracy theory. Like, it's obviously not a conspiracy because it's true. But, so, here it goes. So the Ottomans, well known to have fallen, right? But little do people know that in Canada, there is a huge number of sleeper Ottomans. It's just like an insane amount. Like the igloo was invented by the Ottoman Empire.
Really?
Yeah. And so because of all of this and because of their presence in Canada, that's Justin Trudeau's main campaign point is to get rid of the Ottomans in Canada.
Didn't he dress up like a Turk?
He did indeed. And so it's just this huge like issue that people are wrestling with, and no one is willing to talk about it because everyone is just talking about like all of like the polar bears and other stuff that live in the Canadian wilderness. But in reality, there is like a whole like empire of people that are living in Canada, and legend has it that because it's so cold up there, they haven't aged. And so it's just these people that have been around for like thousands of years that are living up there, and everyone is just hiding it. So one of the conspiracies is the Illuminati and how it's interwoven throughout this Ottoman history.
Well, I think we were all raised with the old wives' tale about telling the difference between Ottoman Canadians processing their maple syrup and normal Canadians processing their maple syrup. There's always a definite spice to the Ottomans, and that's how you tell them apart.
Right. I didn't know that was true. I always assumed it was just a legend. But that's really interesting.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth here at Phäx and Logic.
Right.
You know, I've read somewhere, I think it was an encyclopedia on Canadians, that what makes Canadians so nice is actually the amount of maple syrup they consume. It contains within it, I believe, certain hormones such as dopamine that really just make Canadians the nicest people on the planet. I would recommend to anyone listening today to check out the link in our description for access to Canadian maple syrup.
Well, and you've all heard the saying sugar and spice and everything nice, yeah? Well, the sugar, obviously Canadian maple syrup, but the sugar and spice is it comes from the Ottomans in Canada, and people don't actually ever like recognize that and don't give them the credit that they deserve for the saying that we always use.
The spice refers to cumin.
Wow.
Cumin in the maple syrup.
Wow, that's just absolutely
Yeah.
delicious.
Cumin actually contains within it an excessive amount of vitamin D, which I hear is really good for happiness and dopamine. That's what the D stands for, actually.
You know,
Yeah.
I think that the if you look at the earliest Byzantine sources that talk about the Turks when they were coming across, they actually refer to them as cumin Turks. And so I wonder if that's where we get the name for that spice.
Does anyone know how it's made? Because I feel like
don't.
that would be a cool thing to know.
Let me Google it.
I've heard that artificial cumin comes from snapping tortoise excrement.
Oh.
Not real cumin, but
That's really interesting, actually. I hadn't read about this before in my research on snapping turtles.
well, it is truthful.
That does concern me about snapper conservation. I'm deeply concerned that their population is being exploited for human from artificial. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there is an entire black market for artificial cumin. And my uncle is a snapping turtle farmer. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, I don't think it was wise to admit that on this podcast. I think there might be legal trouble in the future.
You don't know which uncle.
I can ask the turtles.
Okay, so Wikipedia says that cumin was, well, the prevailing theory forwarded by ancient astronaut theorists is that cumin was brought to Earth by emissaries of the Galactic Federation when they sent their emissary Jesus to Earth, and he actually carried cumin in his pockets when he arrived. And so,
As it was prophesied.
right, yeah, there's a lot in the book of Isaiah about that, about the introduction of a strange spice that will make people nicer.
You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that Joel and I just learned about that in our Hebrew class the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah, we're reading through some of Isaiah, and we came across this word that we couldn't quite place, and our professor didn't quite know the precise meaning of the word, and so I'm inclined to believe that was what they were talking about there.
Traditionally, the word has been vocalized as kuman, but more non-traditional research has suggested kumin is a more informed vocalization
Interesting.
of the ancient text.
Didn't know that.
Now you do.
Yes, I do. and so do our listeners. I'll just take this moment to do a plug for our greatest sponsors, our listeners, who help us stay on the air each and every day. Every year or so. I think that we should really emphasize how important it is to share this podcast with your friends and with your family and with, coworkers, neighbors, dogs, cats, turtles,
And your Ottoman Turks.
Ottoman Turks. Yes, especially them. I think that they would really appreciate this.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, if Patrick Stewart hears this, then I think we would have won.
Truth will have prevailed.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you happen to know Patrick Stewart or how you can get in touch with him, we would love to have him on the show, because I think
he knows something that we don't about those Sumerian.
Right. Either
symbols.
he has been taken back in time or he's going to be taken back in time. And so either way, I think he would either have a lot to share with us or he would have a lot to learn from us.
Well, and he would say some wise words to our next generation.
Our role in interacting with Patrick Stewart could be instrumental in bringing truth and logic to our youth, our grandparents, our brothers and sisters, and even turtle kind. I know they've been struggling a lot with the recent allegations against them for the murder of Jeffrey.
And speaking of Patrick Stewart, especially with the time travel thing, that man doesn't age. What if is he the time traveler?
Oh.
Ooh.
I've read some theories about it that he is the one that is bringing the information back to them about our current state of technology and things. And that is what we are seeing in the past. Like you said, the poop emoji showing up, that was him bringing back his work from this day and age. Just a few theories I read, and it'd be interesting to research some more of that.
I agree.
Absolutely. Perhaps in our next season, we'll have to look into that more and bring back our research about Patrick Stewart. Yeah, and even get him on the show.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
Well, our time is coming to a close. So I'm hesitant to ask this, but is anyone willing to give us a preview, a snippet, a snapshot, if you will, of our next episode? What could we possibly see? What can we expect? Anything?
Well, I think that I'm not sure if we want to announce everything, so I'm kind of trying to parse out what we want to share with our listeners.
We will definitely be obviously sharing the facts and logic that we come across in our lives. And maybe at some point in the next season, we can convince Mr. Soundman to get on here and give us a in-depth history of the recording devices that we know and we love today.
Yeah.
And we can learn some of the facts about the history of those wonderful devices.
And I'd love to bring work from my research project. I'm currently interviewing both Sasquatches and tree octopi about the War of 2007. And I think it would be great to share my research next season. But we all know that truth blows with the wind and logic flows with the river.
That's our motto.
Word. The one thing I will say that viewers or listeners rather can look forward to is we will have a special guest, Mr. John Johnson. Can we give a hand to John Johnson for agreeing to come on? Woo! Okay. Before we go, I do want to announce the answer, the true truth from our Two Truths and a Truth. The truth is The true truth that was truthfully guessed by one of you. The true truth, in truth, is